squatting Slav TV.
Over the course of the last 6 years, some 600,000 migrants have arrived to Italy, and in 2017 alone, Italy saw some 120,000 migrants wash upon its shores with the help of various NGOs and human smugglers. With the tightening of borders in southern and eastern Europe, these migrants who would have normally entered Europe by land were now crossing the Mediterranean in massive numbers, oftentimes dying while out at sea. The ports of many Italian islands, including Sardinia and Sicily, quickly became overrun by hundreds of NGO ships, which were bringing in thousands and thousands of migrants on a daily basis under the guise of humanitarian rescue missions. Eventually, the problem worsened to the point where one Italian politician had to take matters into his own hands after the migrant-loving EU abandoned Italy and failed to alleviate the country's ever-growing influx of people. This politician, if you haven't guessed by now, is none other than Italy's Matteo Salvini, whose face I'm sure you've been seeing a lot more of lately as he rises up to be the EU establishment's most feared man. Salvini, who is currently serving as the Deputy Prime Minister and Interior Minister of the right-wing Italian Lega Party, captured massive media attention earlier this summer after he publicly told migrants to get ready to pack their bags as part of a massive deportation campaign which aimed to deport 500,000 migrants back to their homelands. According to Salvini, it's high time for Italy to stop being the refugee camp of Europe, and he stated on numerous occasions that deportations are needed on top of stricter border controls in order to regulate the hordes of people pouring into Italy. The island of Sicily, which acts as the primary entry point for migrants, is also home to several large migrant detention centers, and Salvini's goal from the very start has been to cut the burdensome costs of these facilities, which are flooded by thousands and thousands of people on a weekly basis. In a country where human smuggling has become a lucrative industry for NGOs, smugglers, and the Italian mafia alike in the wake of the migrant crisis, Salvini's government faces an uphill battle both domestically and with the rest of Europe. While the EU was stringent in setting its migrant quotas for many of its member states, it completely abandoned Italy and watched passively as the country's resources were exhausted to the brink by the burdens of mass migration. In June of this year, Salvini made a second bold move towards halting illegal migration by closing off Italian ports to NGO ships, which had been scooping up migrants from the Mediterranean and dumping them into the ports of Italy. Salvini's Lega Party trolled the NGO ships by telling them that the only time they'd see Italy would be on a postcard, and even held up a Coast Guard ship with 177 migrants on it from docking for nearly a week. Hungary's Viktor Orban, who faces similar battles against the EU's crooked migrant politics, praised Salvini as his hero for taking these preventative measures and blamed France's Emmanuel Macron for backing the forces of European migration. Naturally, Macron was triggered by the words of these two evil populists and blamed the duo for spreading hate speech while proclaiming himself to be their biggest enemy. Besides Macron, Salvini's politics have drawn widespread criticism from human rights groups and the leftist media and politicians alike, who have demonized him as a populist dictator since his arrival onto Italy's political scene. Recently, leftist student organizations have called for Salvini's assassination, a black MP has attempted to sue him for defamation, and Italian prosecutors have even placed him under investigation for preventing migrant ships from docking. Leftists have also blamed Salvini for increasing the number of migrant deaths out at sea following Italy's port closures to NGO ships, even though this was done in order to discourage African migrants from embarking on the journey through the Mediterranean in the first place. Shamelessly, the European Parliament has also compared Salvini to just about every historical figure that they despise, calling him everything from Italy's new little Mussolini to Pontius Pilatus. These intimidation tactics have had almost no effect on Salvini, however, as he continues to hold his ground firmly against the slander of the EU aristocrats while staying true to his party slogan, Italians First. As of recently, Salvini has taken even further steps to alleviate the influx of migrants and has called on the Tunisian government to aid in repatriating illegal Tunisian migrants from Italy. With certain African nations expressing interest in aiding against Europe's migrant battle, this may perhaps be a good time for Italy to start exploring new options without having to deal with the blackmail of the EU. Salvini, who's come to be the #1 antagonist of the EU, is yet another perfect example of a politician who's shaken up Europe by resisting the tides of globalism. As the EU continues to wage war on European nations that are jumping off its sinking ship, no pun intended, it's without a doubt that Salvini will only gain more momentum as the situation in Italy continues to worsen. For Matteo Salvini, European politics are meant to be trolled and exposed for what they've become, and thus far he's been doing an amazing job at becoming Europe's most hated man.